Hi everybody, Cindy Collins with Cindy Collins Designs. I wanted to come on here and make a video about the process that I go through when I make my spoon rings. Now, let me say up front, my process is not the same as someone else's. Everybody does it a little bit different. That doesn't make me right or wrong, or anybody else right or wrong. It's just the way I do it. And I want to say that all artisans, no matter what they're making, whether it's spoon rings or something else, they all have a process they go through. They all have a skill set and a knowledge base that they work from, and they have a tremendous investment in tools and equipment that they use. So ooh, here comes a wasp. Okay, the point is that that contributes to the cost of what they make. And I hope you take that into consideration when you're looking at the price that somebody has. Now, let me say that some of my pieces, my older pieces, I am putting them on sale because there's some new ones that I want to make and some new things I want to do. So I need to sell off my old stock at a reduced rate. But the new pieces that I'm making, I can't. It's just the way it is. I hope you understand. This video is going to be in two parts, and I will introduce the second part. Thank you. Hope you enjoy it. Hope it enlightens you. I start off by going through my stack of silverware until I find one that I like that's going to make a good ring. Then I mark it and I cut it off with my bolt cutters, and you can see that I've cut it off a little further than the mark I made because I changed my mind in the middle. And then you can't see me, but I have on my safety goggles. Then I put on my very coarsest of wheels, and I got this out of the way, okay, and I go to my jewel tool and I start to grind and shape. Until I get the basic shape that I want. And you see here, I grind it a little more so that there's a flat surface so that it can fit under the ring when I make it. Now, this is just the first step, and I'm only going to do a couple of these on camera, then I'm going to go off camera and do to the next step. But I will grind these until I get them as smooth as I want them, that there's no sharp edges. Right now there's a sharp edge. And then I will show you the next step. Okay, I'm starting my final round of smoothing down. I'm using a ceramic 120, a purple 120. And then I rub my finger across here if I feel any rough spots. I want it to be smooth. And let me take a moment to say that all artists who make spoon rings do it different. And that's okay. They use different tools, they have different techniques. But the one thing that they all have in common is they make sure that there are no spiky parts. Everything's smooth for the wearer. So the next step after this will be to wash them, and I usually like to wash them in a jewel tool bubble wash, but if I don't have any, then I'll use Dawn dishwashing, because Dawn is very, very gentle. You can wash your jewelry in it, You can even wash your silver in it. This is silver plate, but you can also wash your silver in it, and it won't hurt it. Don't wash your pearls in it though. Just your metals. And you don't use a lot of scrubbing, and you don't leave it in there a long time. Alright, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I've all finished with the grinding and smoothing. I have 10 rings here. They're all different. I usually don't know what I'm going to make until I get finished. However, this one I know will be a wrap ring, and or spiral, because of the way that I cut the design on it. So I know it's going to be a wrap ring. The rest of them I'm not sure. We'll see. But off they go to be washed. Like I said, I don't always use the jewel tool cleaner because I don't always have it. When I don't, I will use, and please don't look at my messy sink. Okay. But then I do use this little soft brush because it gets into the little crevices and it cleans really well. And I'll show you what they all look like after they've been cleaned. Alright, now that I've cleaned them off, and there's still some tarnish and there's still these marks here, but my next step is to finish cleaning them up using my radial brushes. And I will start with my green, and I'll use my 3-inch first, and then use the 2-inch if I need to get into some smaller spaces. So let's get started. I'm going to start with my 3-inch green one just to see what it does. I don't want to take any of the silver plating off. And on these vintage spoons, a lot of times the silver plating is already coming off. Now on my 3-inch, I have, normally they come with like three wheels, and I happen to have 6 wheels on mine, and I like that. I feel like it gives me a little bit more firmness. And if they don't get as clean as I want with this, then I'll use the 2-inch. But this gets the surface off. You can see already how it's coming off. That's only just the start. Alright, I'm going to go through and do these and show you what they are. On this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the 2-inch, since I'm using this one, and show you how I get into this little area right here. It's not real bad, but I would like it to be a little bit cleaner before I try to polish it. Okay. Now I like to start with the green. Here I've got my 2-inch. Let's see how much of a difference it makes. I like to start with my green because they're the least abrasive. And if I see that I need some more abrasive, then I'll move on down to the coral. And if I still need some, then I'll move on down to the blue. But I won't go any further than that. Not on silver plate, because it will take the plating off. You can see where there's still like a little rough area, but that will become so polished when I get through you won't even know. Now I picked up another one here. This one I'm going to go ahead, since I've got the 2-inch on, I'm going to go ahead and start with the intricate part. And again, I remind you that all artists do it differently. Some of them use something like a micro tool. Some of them don't use any electric tools at all. Some of them will use like a bench grinder. There's just all different kinds of tools. I happen to be fond of the jewel tools, and I use the jewel tool for all of my polishing, grinding, everything. So I use it for metal, I use it for rocks, I use it for polymer clay. I use my jewel tool for everything. And if you have an interest in that, I can't recommend this company any higher. They are fabulous, and well, that's all I'm going to say about that. I highly recommend them. All right, let me finish these, and I'll get back to you on the next step. And I wanted to point out something else while I was on it, because I saw the name of this one. Well, if you can see it, this is white orchid. Some people keep track of the names of the spoons and things that they use, and they look up the years, and they do all that. I don't do that. And it's not because I don't think it's important. I think, let's see if I can get this moved up a little bit. Where I think that's really important is when you have a very, very vintage spoon. But I just simply find that for me, it would take up too much time. And most of my clients don't care. They just want a pretty spoon, and they don't care what the name of it is. However, there are places that you can look them up. You can get books. You can look them up online. And there are certainly some patterns that are more desirable than other patterns. And so for some people it's important. For me it isn't. For my clients it isn't. But that doesn't make it wrong. All right. Again, next step. Okay, so I want to show you this one right here. Let's see if I can get it in focus. You see all these little places right in there? Well, I'm going to need something a little tinier. So what I'm going to use is this little adapter. It's called a hands-free. And I'm going to screw it onto the spindle of my jewel tool. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush. I think I'm going to start with this one. And put it in there. Now I can also use this on a flex shaft. But I just didn't want to do that at the moment. Let me turn it up as high as it'll go. Oops, you can't even see what I'm doing. Here we go. There we go. As high as it'll go. And this allows me to get in there. And some people don't care. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people don't necessarily care about getting all that out because they like the patina of it being old. I'm going to need something a little stronger. Okay, I pulled this out. This is a wheel that I've had for years, and it's a kind of a standby wheel because it's a little abrasive, but not too abrasive, and yet it will get in there. And now I won't do my whole spoon with this because I'm afraid of it being too strong, but I really want to get in there. And look, you can see how it's getting in there and getting that tarnish out. And that's really what I want. I want to get that shine. So I do the other side. Yeah, look at that. Can you see what I'm doing? This hands-free tool that Ani made is perfect for allowing you to use your smaller wheels and brushes like this without having to use the flex shaft. And there's nothing wrong with using the flex shaft. It's fine. I use it all the time. You can also use this on the flex shaft, and that gives you a little bit of extra room. Now we're getting all this tarnish out. I'm not really used to how I'm wearing this camera around my chest, so you can want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Well, you get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'll show you what it looks like when I've gotten all that off of there. Okay, while I have my hands free out, I'm going to show you. This got a really pretty good job of getting all of the crud out of it, but I'm going to use something. I think they're called flappers, but I'm not sure, because they're these little wheels that have flaps on them, and I'm going to use those very gently on this, because they have these little things on them, little flaps that really get in there. So I want to use some of that. And all I'm really trying to do is get as much of that crud off as I can before I polish. Because what will happen is when you polish, some of the compound is going to get into those crevices, and you can wash that compound out, but if it's gotten in there and mixed up with all that dirt and grime, then you'll be forever getting it out. And of course, to some people it may not matter, but I'm kind of a perfectionist and it does matter to me. I want the inside to look as good as the outside. Even when I get rings that I buy, or any sterling silver that I buy, I'm going to clean it. I'm going to clean all the crevices. Okay, that's one wheel. I started with wheel number 5 that's closest to the polishing wheel. This particular wheel is the last wheel in the series, and it has more polishing power than the other one. And even though I'm not quite ready to polish yet, look at that. I'm still wanting to get as much of that crud out as I can. And might as well, it doesn't hurt to do a little polishing while we're at it. Okay, I'm going to finish off camera. Okay, here they all are. And they're just cleaned off. But look, you see how thick that is? You know how hard that is going to be to bend? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat them up, and I'm going to put a mark right here, and when that mark disappears, then they're hot enough. That way I can keep from damaging the silver. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, so here I've got my annealing pan, and I have my mark, and I'm turning on my annealing gun, and I'm just kind of running this over it like this. And when that black mark disappears, then this has been completely annealed. So I'm just running it over like this. You don't want to keep it in one space too long. And you'll see it disappear in a minute. And what this is doing is it's heating up the metal that's inside and making it soft, so it'll be easier to bend. This is a really thick piece. You can see that it's starting to disappear a little bit. It'll disappear in a minute. You can see it. There it goes. There it goes, almost gone. And gone. Oops, turn this off. Be careful when you're using something like this. And I pick it up with my tweezers and put it in the quench pan. All right, I'm going to do the rest of them off camera. Okay, they're all annealed and in the water, and I want to take this moment to say, this is what I use for annealing. This is what I use for some of my pinpoint soldering, and then I have a heat gun. Oops. I have a heat gun that I use for my sweat soldering that I do on my crosses and such. And then I have a variety of tools. This particular pan is called an annealing pan. And those little lava rocks soak up the heat so it doesn't get too hot. I have some other kinds of things that I use for when I'm regular soldering. That was the end of part 1. Now stay tuned for part 2.